me today is Simon Langham. Simon and I were together on Monday night at the Youth House in Nathan Street and participated in the Unfavourites discussion series, and we looked at the story of Cain and Abel together. Simon, you're a twin. Some people suggest that Cain and Abel may be twins. There is mention of a single conception and pregnancy in the story, but two births. And so some people infer from that that they actually are twin brothers rather than just brothers. But anyway, it doesn't matter that much. Simon, can you tell us a little bit, what's it like being, for you, growing up as a twin in life?
I think there's lots of interesting factors about being a twin. I suppose in regards to the Cain and Abel story, there's a lot of comparison that comes with being a twin. Everyone you meet is trying to distinguish what's different. Who's better at this, who's better at that, who's worse at that, who's worse at that. So I suppose that is where that naturally would have led in the Cain and Abel story of Cain feeling rejected. But then also there's lots of great things about being a twin. It's always someone to be with, someone to be a friend with, which I suppose Cain and Abel didn't manage to.
Yeah, it seems a shame that Cain missed out on that side of things.
Yeah, that doesn't.
But I guess, like you're saying, we can't really hear the name Cain without thinking of Abel, or Trinidad without Tobago, and I guess sometimes for you, Simon and Micah is almost a phrase that
a lot of
connection. Yeah, right.
I'll turn my head if someone says Micah just as much as if someone says Simon.
Right. On Monday night, we talked about the role of Abel and the role of Cain in this story. Like, God favours Abel, according to the story, or God has regard for Abel, but not for Cain. Can you tell us a bit about what we talked about in terms of their respective roles in the story?
Well, I think the interesting thing that we drew out was that Abel was actually not mentioned much at all in the story. And although Cain, his offering to God seems to be rejected more, he's actually gets a lot more time to connect with God, and God, does really reach out to him after that. So it's almost as though even though Abel's gift is better or perceived that way, he's less important.
Yeah, I guess if you think about the 5 love languages, one of them is quality time. It seems like God's quality time is with Cain in this story rather than with Abel, doesn't it? Even though apparently Abel is the favoured one. I was thinking too, if you were putting on a Sunday school play of this story, surely you'd want to be Cain, not Abel, because if you're Abel, you're
doesn't
gone.
Get any lines. Yeah.
We also talked about the nature of the storytelling. What were your thoughts about that?
Someone noted that it was quite impressive how much it got through in such a short amount of time. Well, then with that obviously comes the fact that a lot of details are missed out. It's a very sparse storyline.
Yeah. Do you think that helps, or are you frustrated that the story doesn't give us more, or what?
Oh, I guess there was a bit of frustration. It's like, surely a bit more detail could have been put in. Cut the wondering, but then also, I suppose it allows more room to have detail over different periods of Cain and Abel's life, or Cain's life.
You find yourself trying to supply the missing bits, don't you, in the story? And I guess one of the great unanswered questions is why God has regard for Abel and not for Cain. And it's so human to want to know the answer to that question. And yet, for whatever reason, the story seems to resist telling us that. There was one last thing, wasn't there, which concerned God's treatment of Cain at the end of this story. Cain's just killed his brother, and yet he pleads with God. What does the future look like for me? Everyone's going to want to murder me. God places this mark upon him, whatever that mark might have been, and it protects him. There's a real mercy in the way God treats Cain at the end of this story. Simon, thank you so much for joining me this morning. A quick shout out to anybody out there who's been thinking about joining a favourites group but hasn't done it. It's not too late. Find a leader's details at a time that suits you. Get in touch. Be involved for the next 2 or 3, maybe even 4 weeks. This is a chance to dwell upon Scripture and to see how it might speak into your life.